I'm calling about a house. Fire on Lakeshore Drive. Your wife was apparently at the scene. Yes, Brian Russo just called me. Is Melinda okay? She's at the hospital, but she'll be fine. I'm calling because there might be some irregularities with the fire. We'll need to ask you some questions. Of course, whatever you need. Can you account for your whereabouts last night between midnight and 6:00 a.m.? I was home, couldn't sleep, so I went for a drive around 2:09 a.m., came back around 3:00. My neighbors might have seen my truck. Anyone else who can verify that? My children were asleep upstairs, but you're welcome to check with the neighbors. We will. Mr. Adams, were you aware that your wife was having an affair with Mr. Russo? The question hung in the air like smoke. Detective, half the neighborhood became aware of that 3 nights ago. It's not exactly a secret anymore, I see. And how did you feel about that revelation? How do you think I felt? Angry enough to want revenge? I chose my words carefully. Detective, I'm a structural engineer. When I have a problem, I solve it with documentation and legal procedures, not arson. If I wanted to hurt Brian Russo, I'd sue him for alienation of affection, not burn down his house. That's a very logical response. I'm a logical person. After Martinez hung up, I sat in the quiet house and waited for the next shoe to drop. It didn't take long. At 9:15 a.m., my phone rang again. This time it was someone from the IRS. Mr. Russo, this is Agent Patricia Coleman from the Criminal Investigation Division. We need to discuss some irregularities with your tax filings. I almost smiled. I think you have the wrong number. This is Logan Adams. Oh, my apologies. Is this a number associated with Brian Russo or his business? Not that I'm aware of. You might try his construction company. Thank you. After she hung up, I allowed myself a small moment of satisfaction. The anonymous tip I'd filed about Brian's cash transactions had worked its way through the bureaucracy with typical government efficiency. By noon, Brian would be dealing with fire investigators, insurance adjusters, tax auditors, and hospital bills. Melinda would be choosing between a man whose life was collapsing and a husband who held all the cards, and I would be planning the final moves in a game. I'd been playing since the moment. I learned the truth about my children. Justice was methodical, but it was also inevitable. The offshore account had been established 3 months earlier through a law firm in the Cayman Islands, perfectly legal, completely untraceable, and funded with assets that technically belonged to Meridian Holdings LLC, the shell company, tied to Melinda's social security number. I sat in Cheryl Moss's office on Friday afternoon, signing the final transfer documents while she explained the legal implications. Once these funds are moved offshore, they'll be protected from domestic litigation. The cotton swab scraped against Emma's cheek like sandpaper against my last nerve. My 10-year-old daughter giggled, completely oblivious to the fact that her school, Ancestry Project, was about to blow up my entire world. Dad, this is so cool, she said, sealing the tube with the enthusiasm only kids possess. Mrs. Peterson says we might find out we're related to famous people. I forced a smile. Yes, sweetheart. Famous people. Melinda walked into the kitchen, her social worker badge still clipped to her blouse. 16 years of marriage, and I could read her moods like blueprints. Tonight she looked tired, distant. You're really doing this DNA thing? She asked, pouring coffee with mechanical precision. It's for school, I said, watching her face for any flicker of concern. Nothing. Just the same detached expression she'd worn for months. Seems like a waste of money. It's $12, Mel. She shrugged, already checking her phone. Always checking that damn phone. Emma bounced toward the door. Jacob's doing his tomorrow. We're going to compare results. After she left, silence filled the kitchen like smoke. Melinda kept scrolling through whatever held, her attention more than her family these days. Working late again tonight? I asked. Case conference? She didn't look up. Might be really late. I nodded, filing that information away with all the other lies I'd been collecting. 3 months of case conferences that ran until midnight. 3 months of hushed phone calls and sudden errands. The next morning, I drove both samples to the lab myself. Emma chatted about school friends while Jacob dozed in his car seat. 8 years old and still needing naps. My boys, my kids, or so I thought. A week later, my buddy Dale from the forensics lab called while I was reviewing structural plans for a new office complex. Logan, you got a minute? What's up? His voice dropped. That ancestry thing you had me run. The girl's sample. My hand stopped moving across the blueprints. Yeah, man. I don't know how to tell you this, but she's not yours. The pencil snapped in my fingers. What? The DNA doesn't match? Not even close. I ran it twice, thinking there was a mistake. The office walls seemed to tilt inward. Are you sure? Dead sure, Logan, I'm sorry. I hung up without another word. Sat there staring at the structural drawing of a building that would outlast my marriage. Outlast my family, outlast everything I thought I knew about my life. That afternoon, I collected Jacob's cheek swab myself. Told him it was a fun science experiment, just like his sisters. He trusted me completely, the way kids trust their fathers. 2 days later, Dale called again. Same result, he said quietly. I'm really sorry, man. I drove home in a daze, parked in the driveway, and sat in the silence of my Honda Civic for 20 minutes. The house I'd helped design looked foreign suddenly. The mortgage payments, the family photos, the careful savings account, all of it built on a lie. When I finally walked inside, Melinda was cooking dinner. Spaghetti and meatballs, the kids' favorite. She hummed while stirring the sauce, completely unaware that I just discovered our entire life was fiction. How was work? She asked without turning around. I studied the back of her head, the way her dark hair fell across her shoulders. The same woman I'd fallen in love with in college. The same woman who'd carried 2 children that weren't mine. Fine, I said. Just fine. Emma ran up and hugged my legs. Dad, when do we get our ancestry results? I looked down at her bright eyes, her trusting smile. She had Melinda's nose, but now I could see other features. Stronger jaw, different eye shape. Soon, sweetheart, real soon. That night, after everyone was asleep, I sat in my garage workshop and did what I always do when the world stops making sense. I planned, step 1, find out who the real father was. Step 2, make sure justice got served. I opened my laptop and started typing. 3 weeks into my new reality, I became the perfect husband. Honey, I think we should try counseling, I said over breakfast, reaching across to squeeze Melinda's hand. She nearly choked on her orange juice. Counseling. Why? I manufactured the right amount of vulnerability. I feel like we've been distant lately. I want to fix whatever's wrong. Her eyes searched my face for deception and found only manufactured sincerity. Logan, I think that's a really good idea. Emma and Jacob ate their cereal, oblivious to the performance unfolding around them. Kids that age live in the moment. They don't see the cracks in the foundation until the whole house comes down. I love you, I told Melinda and kissed her forehead. Whatever's bothering you, we can work through it. She started crying then. Real tears. Probably the first genuine emotion she'd shown me in months. I love you too, she whispered. The lie tasted like ashes in my mouth. That afternoon, I made 2 phone calls. The first was to Dr. Sarah Chen, a marriage counselor with excellent reviews and a 3-week waiting list. I scheduled our first session and paid the deposit. The second call went to Nora Valdez, a private investigator recommended by a colleague, whose wife had been cheating with her tennis instructor. What exactly do you want to know? Nora asked. Her voice was all business. No judgment. Everything. Where she goes, who she sees, what she's hiding. Standard surveillance package runs $500 a day plus expenses. Money is not an issue. I'll need a recent photo and her daily routine. I emailed Melinda's information within the hour. Our first counseling session was scheduled for Thursday evening. Melinda seemed nervous, fidgeting with her wedding ring during the drive. What if she asks about things we don't want to discuss? She said, like what? I don't know, private things. I kept my eyes on the road. We don't have to hide anything from each other, do we? She went quiet after that. Dr. Chen's office was all earth tones and inspirational posters. The kind of place designed to make people feel safe enough to confess their secrets. What brings you both here today? Dr. Chen asked after we'd settled into her plush chairs. I looked at Melinda expectantly. She twisted her ring again. We've been growing apart, she said finally. I feel like Logan works too much, and I've been dealing with some difficult cases at work. I want to be more present, I added. I realized I might be taking our family for granted. For 45 minutes, we performed the dance of a couple trying to save their marriage. I played the part of the devoted husband, recognizing his flaws. Melinda played the overwhelmed wife seeking connection. Neither of us mentioned the real problems. Friday morning, Nora called. Your wife's been meeting someone, she said. Weiss this week at the Riverside Diner on 5th Street. Always the same guy. My blood went cold. Description, mid-40s construction worker. Bill drives a red pickup truck. They seem familiar with each other. Get me photos. Already did, emailing them now. I opened the attachment on my phone and nearly dropped it. Brian Russo. Melinda's ex-husband. The man she divorced 8 months before we started dating. The man who disappeared from her life so completely that she rarely mentioned him, except he hadn't disappeared at all. I stared at the photo of them holding hands across the diner table. Melinda's face showed more animation than I'd seen from her in months. Brian was leaning forward, talking intensely, his hand covering hers. The timeline clicked into place like puzzle pieces. Emma was 10. Jacob was 8. Melinda and I had started dating 9.5 years ago. She'd gotten pregnant with Emma 6 months after we met, or so she'd told me. But if Brian was Emma's father, then Melinda had been sleeping with both of us right from the beginning. I saved the photos to a secure folder and deleted the email. That evening, I suggested we order pizza and have a family movie night. The kids picked some animated garbage about talking cars, but I buy